Okay, so now we start off with section 3 in chapter 3. You won't see a video of me in the right hand corner this time. I'm going to do something a little bit different to see if it works a little bit better. Well, with section 3, we talk about nationalism. And we start off with Henry Clay. Henry Clay is the leading advocate for the new economic nationalist system. He wanted the federal government to build new roads and canals. Remember, before this, there were the Democratic Republican Party, and they um, had opposed the federal government having so much power. But now they want the federal government to build new roads, to have more canals. They wanted to reestablish a national bank so that way your money is actually worth something when you go from one state to the next. I don't want to have to go to the ATL and then all of a sudden they tell me, oh, I have $20 in my pocket, but it's only worth $5 in Atlanta. So Henry Clay wanted to reestablish the national bank system. Now, when establishing a national bank, we have to think about the economy because, of course, the economy is driven by money and we all love money. However, even in our economic times right now, when a panic ensues, if they tell us there's going to be a hurricane tomorrow, most of our parents go out and buy all the bread and the water and the milk and the sugar and everything they can in the stores. It's called a panic. Well, the same thing happens back in the 1800s. When the economy panicked, it was a new system of capitalism. Capitalism is when individuals own most of the productive properties. So the markets would really set the price. So if the prices are good, yay, we are all happy. We can all go get that new iPhone and we can call it a day. But if the prices are bad, no bueno. Oh, when those Jordans come out and we know there's only 100 pair out there in the United States or only 100 pair at the local finish line, there's a line wrapped around a store. It's called supply and demand. They're only going to supply you with 100, but the demand is for 500. They'll jack up the prices and people will pay that much money for this one product. Same thing happened back in the economy times in the 1800s. It's for the farmers. They were producing because the demand was up. But once the demand was gone, what happens? Nobody's buying this material. Nobody's buying their food. If nobody's giving them money, then they can't pay their bills and they can't afford to pay any prices. They begin to lose all of their land, everything that they've ever owned. So if the farmers are going out of business, that means if the prices are falling, then the people who are producing this are going to cut back on production, which means they're going to have to close factories. And then, dun, 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 they're going to have to fire their workers. Then, if there's no one working, then they're not making money. And if they're not making money, then they're not spending money and investing in other businesses. Therefore, prices are going to continue to fall. Next, we have the Monroe Doctrine. It is a policy to help Spain recover Latin American colonies that had declared their independence. So the United States are telling the Latin American people, hey, we got your back. We got you. We got you. However, Britain wanted to help the United States. They agreed with us. But the United States, of course, we got a little bit of chip on our shoulders. We smelling ourselves. So we didn't want Britain's help. We told them to stay away, stay out of our business. And the United States declared in the doctrine, European monarchies had no business meddling with American republics. The European monarchies have no business meddling with American republics. They want Britain to stay out of the business because they want to handle it and be the one who takes care of everything. But guess what? Latin America chose to stick with the British government because America, we don't have an army. We don't have a unique armed forces. What can we really offer them? We can offer them a whole bunch of papers that say, I got your back, I got you. But if they need help, do you want to go to somebody who's already got an established military? Or do you want to all go to someone who, the United States, we have no military or no structured military, and we're brand new, so we really don't know what we're doing. Slap in the face, Latin America chose to stick with the British. America, goodbye. So, to show you a little cartoon about the Monroe Doctrine, we have this picture which shows um there's Uncle Sam. Of course, we know Uncle Sam because we give him all of our money. We pay these taxes. And it's the Monroe Doctrine. We're saying, we have your back. We're right here. Spain is like, nah, we good. You know, we not going to fool with y'all right now. Uncle Sam is holding back everyone who's trying to take over Latin American colonies. But Spain or Latin America is still saying, nah, we're good. We don't want your help, Uncle Sam. You are brand new. You don't even know what you're doing. Therefore, it is a no-go. Now we have the Missouri Compromise. We've heard about it throughout history. And I don't know if you actually know, Henry Clay offered the Missouri Compromise. It's when the Union had an equal number of slave and free states before the Compromise. This is before the Compromise. The Union had an equal number of slave and free states. And Missouri wanted to become a slave state. They wanted to enter into the colonies or to America, but they wanted to be a slave state. But that would tip the power. Now there's more states with slaves than without. And of course, we're not having that. That's not getting ready to happen. So Henry Clay came up with the idea, well, if we allow Missouri to become a slave state, then we can admit Maine, which is a northeastern state, the New England state, admit Maine, and they will be a free state. So now the power is back even. We have Missouri, slave state, Maine, free state. And then they come up with the Mason-Dixon line. So if any state is now going to enter into the Union, into the Americas, if they are north of the Mason-Dixon line, it is a free state. And if they're south of the Mason-Dixon line, then they are a slave state. Now, to show you a picture about the Missouri Compromise, we have here this is the Mason-Dixon line. It looks kind of crazy. It's all over the place, but cool. If they agree, then we agree. Now, the unorganized territory is a free area because of the Missouri Compromise of 1820. Now, Missouri is admitted as a slave state right here because they're going to be below the Mason-Dixon line. But up here, Maine in 1820 is admitted as a free state. So that way we keep everything cool, kosher, and equal, even though it doesn't look equal. If you look at these states, they look small compared to the South, which has a lot of people. But remember, in the last section we just went over, the southern states were not heavy populated. They were more about using the land for farms. But in the Northeast, it was more of the industrial area. So there are more workers. Even though it looks uneven, if you look at the population itself, the North has a lot of people in the population, so the states are smaller. But in the South, not heavily populated, plantations are spread out. There's farmland everywhere. So of course, this is equal. Over here, we have the Spanish territory, which we will get to in future chapters. So the next thing you have coming up is a short video on the Missouri Compromise.
As America's new boundary lines were being drawn during the presidency of James Monroe, the nation's population reached 10 million. During this period of explosive growth, new states were being added almost every year, and the issue of slavery increasingly divided the nation. Mississippi was added to the Union in 1817 as a slave state, meaning a state in which slavery was legal. The next year, Illinois was added as a free state, meaning a state in which slavery was banned. And in 1819, Alabama was added as a slave state. At that point, the number of free and slave states was equal. However, the application by Missouri for statehood as a slave state threatened to upset this balance unless the U.S. Congress took decisive action. The leaders of the northern free states claimed Congress had the right to prohibit slavery in Missouri as well as any other new states created west of the Mississippi River. But the leaders of the southern slave states strongly resisted this notion. They feared that if the balance of power was shifted in favor of the free states, slavery might be made illegal and undermine the South's slave-based economy. In 1820, Congressman Henry Clay of Kentucky helped enact a law called the Missouri Compromise, designed to appease both sides. This law allowed Missouri to be admitted as a slave state, but it banned slavery from the entire region north of the Missouri Compromise line that corresponded to its southern boundary. It is interesting to note that while the Missouri Compromise was being worked out, voters in the state of Massachusetts decided to create a new free state from northern lands that had been a part of Massachusetts since early colonial times. So that when the state of Maine entered the Union in 1820, it balanced the influence of the new slave state of Missouri when it became a state the next.
The video was supposed to end with saying became a state next year. I don't know why it cut off, but that concludes our chapter 3, section 3 information session. So you know what's next. Take out your paper, get ready to take these notes down.